Yo, what's going on, guys? Gojibu back with another fighting game video. Today I wanted to talk about Invincible Versus. So Invincible is actually one of my favorite fictional stories of all time. It previously was Dragon Ball. Invincible actually ended up passing it up recently. So I am really excited about the potential of a tag fighter. And the reason that kind of been putting off talking about this, in all honesty, is I was waiting to see if there was any more information revealed, any other additional characters, stages, anything else that might have been shown off. And while there is a little bit more info, especially on the dev side of it, what with the original, not original, but the newer, I think 2015 Killer Instinct team coming together to work on this, it only increased my excitement for the game. And with all things, I do love to speculate on what the roster might look like, and again, with my love for the Invincible series, and honestly the Imageverse in itself, since I'm reading up on a lot more of their stuff now, I kind of wanted to throw out what I feel like the complete roster might look like. I did spend a couple days kind of working on this and kind of working it out, because in all honesty, the Invincible verse is kind of a sausage fest when it does come to a lot of characters, and especially with the more important or pivotal characters in the show. So I did struggle a little bit with the roster on this one, but I did get a roster together for this. And the final roster ended up having 19 characters. So a couple things. First of all, it is an odd number because automatically what they've shown in the trailers, they have an odd number of characters. If you go to the website, they only have 4 characters announced, but either way, we'll get into the confirmed characters a little bit later. But for what they've already shown off, they obviously don't count Invincible as a character since he obviously needs to be in the game from what I'm thinking. So they have 6 other characters besides Invincible confirmed. So for the final roster, I did want to include a even number of characters, but then I was also kind of treating it with the same approach they did in the trailer, which is Invincible doesn't really count since he's supposed to be there. So at the end of the day, we got 19 characters for a launching roster, which I feel like is pretty strong, all things considered. The closest comparison that I had when I immediately saw it was Battle for the Grid, the Power Rangers fighting game that came out a while ago. I think it's also a tag game. I didn't get to play it too much, but I did kind of get the same vibes from this, not in terms of production quality, anything like that, but in terms of a smaller scope tag fighting game. I do see the similarities there, definitely. And Battle for the Grid had only 9 characters at launch. And with this being a 3v3 fighting game, I'm like, hey, maybe we should give them a good amount of odd-numbered characters to work with just so they can get a couple different teams. So that's why we end up with the 19. And this does not include DLC. I did kind of want to talk about DLC, but that does get into, additional crossovers and everything like that, other characters from the Imageverse, and I think that might be a video on its own. But either way, getting into the characters that we already have confirmed, and again, you can't see it on the website for some reason. We have Invincible, obviously, and I'm not going to get into the fighting style of the confirmed characters. You can go to some other people's channels. I think Maximilian Dude is a great, one of the OGs, recommend if you want to get breakdowns on what some of these characters might end up doing. But for the confirmed ones, we have Invincible, obviously. Bulletproof, which really surprised me. I thought he might have just been a palette swap for Invincible, but that really does show me what kind of characters they're going for here. Really showing that a similar power set isn't anything that's going to stop them, which I really like. I really love that because I do love a lot of the Viltrumites. But along with that, we also have Adam Eve, who I feel like is honestly one of the maybe 2 or 3 characters that are going to end up being girls in the final game. Again, Invincible, that whole verse is kind of a sausage fest when it comes to important characters. I don't know if Robert Kirkman has anything else that he's cooking, but Adam Eve's also confirmed. They have Rexplode, who showed off in the trailer, at least in the cinematic, but we didn't actually see any gameplay of him. At least we don't think we have. I didn't go into the, after trailer and everything like that. We also have Thula, who is that Viltrumite with the longer hair. I really like that character. Omni-Man, obviously, and then Lucan. And again, the whole inclusion of Lucan and Bulletproof and Thula kind of shows me that they are going to play off of the personalities of the characters more than just their power sets, which I really like because, again, in Invincible, a lot of those characters do kind of just have that. Again, a lot of people do liken it to a Superman archetype, but obviously they don't have lasers, they don't have frost breath, anything like that. They are just very pretty much brawlers that just hit really freaking hard as far as the Viltrumites go. So I didn't include too many other Viltrumites. And again, getting into spoilers with all this stuff, I will let you know the last 3 characters are a bit of a spoiler, but I will warn before we get into that. And again, it is only the last 3. A lot of the characters that are going to be big players have already kind of been established in the show. So if you have seen the show up to the last season, you're not going to be spoiled or anything like that. I will include a spoiler warning towards the end, though. First character that I think we're obviously going to see is Alan the Alien. I could definitely see him as a super armor type of brawler, especially, obviously, getting into spoilers of the show and everything, but the guy gets bigger and bigger, kind of like a Zenkai boost with the whole Dragon Ball thing. If you're familiar with the concept, get your booty beaten and then immediately come back just more jacked and everything. I could obviously see something like that. I think Alan would definitely be a good fit. Obviously, since they're getting the voice cast for the show and everything, I think it'd be really cool to hear Seth Rogen kind of using his voice in a fighting game, which I don't think he's done before, which would be really cool. He is a pretty good voice actor. And again, Alan's whole personality is just really cool. I could see him maybe having some grab, something like that, but in all honesty, I do see him as a really fast combo heavy brawler and kind of will do good in the air, but I think a lot of the characters are going to do good in the air in this game, in all honesty. Next up, I have Monster Girl, and I really do like the concept of Monster Girl, especially once she does get the belt and everything, and again, kind of a stance-changing character who would swap between the monster form and her more human form. I'm thinking something along the lines of when in the monster form, that's obviously going to be where you get your base moveset, maybe more slow-moving grappler, kind of reliant on tanking some of the attacks, obviously a big body character, but then kind of switching into the stance or the human stance might allow her to do some dodges or something like that. So on the one hand, you have this one character that is, one half of it with the monster form where you're moving around super slow, you're going to be dealing heavy damage, may not get a ton of combos or anything like that. And then when you swap over to the human form, since again she doesn't have any powers or anything like that, no enhanced strength or anything of the sort, no tech or anything she can use, I think that'd mainly be relegated to dodges. Maybe she could do like a grab animation with the human form or something like that, like grab them with the monster form, turn it into human, but and then slide behind them and whack them in the back of the head. But again, that's getting into the whole cinematic angle of it, but I think Monster Girl would really be cool, and again, just kind of help differentiate the roster a little bit, because like I keep saying, this whole verse is kind of a sausage fest, man. Then playing off of the Monster Girl angle, we got Robot, and I definitely feel like Robot is going to be included. He does play a significant role in the story, and obviously with the show and everything, he's already a fan favorite. A lot of people do like him. Robot, Rudy, whatever you want to end up calling him, whatever they end up calling him by the time the game comes out. I think Robot would excel as a mid to long range trap setter. Obviously, he would utilize the suits. I think that'd be really cool to see, and I think that he can fight up close and personal, but I do think he could really excel in that field of being a trap setter, kind of setting projectiles, using higher frequencies to maybe disable people so that they can't do air combos or something along those lines, kind of what Cecil does with the Viltrumites, how he utilizes that frequency thing to kind of mess with their flying. I think that'd be a really cool angle for him, maybe somebody who can debuff characters, something along those lines. A tricky trap setting type character would be really cool to have in the game, especially since a lot of these characters, again, they are really up close brawlers. I feel like, while I don't like the whole zoning, I don't like reducing a character to that kind of archetype, I do think that it would be good for the state of the game, kind of to help people, kind of back off a little bit, kind of reset to neutral every now and then. I think Robot would be good for the game. Next up, getting into the villains, I have the Mauler twins, and this would be both of them. I could really see him as kind of playing along the same lines of Robot, maybe a mid-screen trap setter, and maybe he does something extra with the assist. Maybe he even gets an extra assist since, you have both of the Mauler twins, so I could really see some cool moves with that also, since especially they're not afraid to get up close and personal, they're not afraid to grab. They do have a couple of grabs I've seen in the show, so I think they could definitely play with that angle, but I think it would also be interesting to give them maybe some sort of projectile, maybe something from long range, maybe some sort of trap, just because, again, these guys are really, really freaking smart. So I feel like, especially since they're kind of utilizing these characters with their personalities, and even though they have very similar power sets, I feel like the Mauler twins would really excel, and it would really be a disservice to not give them anything that alludes to their genius, because again, they are on the same level, or at least they are experts in a different field than Robot, or at least to that same degree, because Robot did come to them for help with some stuff, but obviously they do excel in some forms past the intelligence of Robot, so I think it'd be really cool to include that as well, and again, I think it'd be a disservice to their characters to not include that. Next up is one we haven't seen too much in the show, at least I think it was him in the last season. Tech Jacket. He's technically not from Invincible's story. He's not originally part of the Invincible run. He does end up being a more important character a little bit later. I don't know if they're going to end up utilizing him in the show, but he is a really cool character. I don't want to, kind of get too far into it. It's kind of like if Iron Man and Ben 10 kind of met with like this alien tech thing, but it doesn't allow him to transform into other aliens, kind of just like an armor thing that's really cool. Again, he has a really cool run. I do recommend his run. But along with that, he does end up being a more important character later in the story. I think Tech Jacket would be really awesome. Kind of a utility / tool character that uses a lot of weapons. Kind of like how Blue Beetle operated in Injustice 2. Again, I don't know why I always go back to Injustice 2. It's just frequently on the brain. But anyway, I do like the designs for their characters and how they kind of play. So I think Tech Jacket would be a really cool fit for that. Again, he is a really cool character, and he does keep up with the Viltrumites pretty often. So I think in terms of power scaling and everything, it would be really cool to have him there, and he would fit. And also, I think he would just kind of spice up the roster a little bit. I went for a lot more of these characters, and this kind of gives you an insight into the, theoretical part of this stuff. I didn't want to go for characters that, well, maybe they do have the same power as some other characters in Invincible, or maybe something similar to it. I wanted to include characters that can use their powers in creative ways, or can do different things than other characters. So again, even if they have a similar power set, or maybe the exact same power set as somebody else, I think their personalities, or they have some sort of factor that could, help them bring a little bit more variety to the game, which is, I feel like, what they're really going to need, and what really could help set them apart from other tag fighters. Next up, gotta have Battle Beast in this, man. Absolutely have to have Battle Beast. He would be a close range brawler with command grabs. I kind of wanted to set him up as like the Akuma stand-in, just really crazy offense, maybe not the best HP or anything like that, but again, that kind of doesn't jive well with this whole character, because he can absolutely take a beating. But I think Battle Beast's absolutely when you need in this. I don't think I'd make him final boss material. I think he would kind of be, just another fighter on the roster, but I think he would excel in combos and, maybe command grabs and stuff like that. I think he'd be great, maybe mid to close range. I wouldn't really want to give him anything for long range. He does have a sword that he can utilize, but again, I do want to kind of have him focus on that, very up close, very heavy combo game. But again, if he does need to resort to anything long range, I think maybe he could have a sword and throw it, and then maybe he'll have to grab it back to later in the fight to get any sort of, projectile or long range option. Kind of, what's his name? Kotal Khan from Mortal Kombat. Something similar to that, where Kotal Khan did have some attacks that he could utilize from a longer to mid-range, utilizing the sword and everything. He did have stuff he could set up. I don't think Battle Beast would set anything up. He doesn't need to, but Battle Beast would be really sick. Another thing, again, if they do go the option of making him a Akuma-like character with this crazy damage and just really low HP value, I think it'd be really cool if sometimes he rushed in unprompted. Now, would this be fun from a gameplay perspective? Absolutely not. It would be infuriating. If you have the Battle Beast on your team, you're waiting for him to regain some health, and hey, maybe even then, they could fix it by maybe having him regenerate health a lot quicker than other characters to kind of accommodate for that Akuma-type playstyle. But what I mean is, if you call another character for assist, like let's say you call Invincible or Adam Eve, I'd say maybe give it like a 50% chance for Battle Beast to rush in instead, since Battle Beast is obsessed with fighting the most worthy competitor. I think it'd be really funny if they did have that as a mechanic. Again, I know it'd be absolutely infuriating. Maybe it could be like a bonus game mode or something like that, but I think that'd also be really cool as a caveat for the character if he is just this insane force of nature like he is in the run. Again, give him that kind of weakness there, that he can rush in and end up taking the assist that you were supposed to utilize, messing with your plans. But again, give him that whole bonus of being this just insane bruiser. After that is another similarly fight-hungry character with Conquest. Again, with the whole, I love Conquest on his own. I loved seeing him in the run and everything, but that season finale with the Conquest fight, oh man, they just solidified him, and I think they pretty much solidified him a spot in the game if he wasn't already going to be in. Again, he's a major character, and I do love what he does in the story. I think Conquest would absolutely be the Akuma stand-in. I know he's a very resilient guy, but again, I think somebody who just does this insane amount of damage, rushes in, has pretty much all the options. Again, I don't even think he'd need any projectiles. I wouldn't even give him a thunderclap or anything like that. I'd just give him pure, like, super armor with like a mid-screen grab, something along those lines, since he's obsessed with just grabbing people and throwing them around. Conquest absolutely needs to make it into the base roster. I think he's one of the best fights in the entire series, and again, I just can't stop giving this guy his roses, man. He's such a cool character, such a cool archetype, such a cool fight. I think he absolutely has a spot in there. And I know I said I didn't want to include a ton of other Viltrumites, but he is pretty necessary along with two other Viltrumites I have in mind. But again, that's getting into spoiler territory, but Conquest would be really cool. He doesn't have any projectiles he utilizes with that, mechanical arm he has or anything along the sort. I think if they really want to give him like some, again, if they want to give him a projectile, maybe they could BS it and say the arm can like shoot off or something, or it can throw some sort of projectile, or he could throw rocks at them. But again, I don't think this guy should have any sort of projectile. I think he just needs to get in on you, and that's pretty much his entire game plan. Give him super armor, give him whatever he needs to get in. But I think, again, that should be his whole thing, getting up close and personal. Then returning from the reaches of space all the way back to Earth into the Pentagon, I think Cecil or Donald would be a really good inclusion and some really good rep for the hero side, for the Earth side of the Invincible story. I think Cecil I'm leaning more towards rather than Donald. I do know Donald is the more equipped out of them to usually take the brunt of the fighting, but I think Cecil as a summoner type character would be really cool, especially because the Invincible series has a lot of heroes, man. Again, not all of them make it to the end of the story, but there are a ton of heroes, and I don't think a lot of them are going to get to be included. I mean, just off the top of my head, man, the Guardians of the Globe, a lot of them I don't feel are going to get in. Like Red Rush, obviously not going to get in. Really cool character. I'd love to have a speedster in the game, but I don't think Red Rush is going to make it. Same thing with the Immortals, same thing with Darkwing. I do think there's a chance for them to make it in, but I think since they do probably want to lean more towards what is happening with like significance in the story, more significant characters, I think that the Guardians might, in all honesty, kind of get sidelined. And this is kind of the best way to include that for any characters that don't make it in. Because along with that, you do have other characters that kind of do get pushed to the sidelines, like Brit, like Wolfman. And again, if you guys haven't, read a lot of the Invincible run, I know a lot of these guys are going to be newer. They're going to seem like bluff shittos. I'm trying to include as many as I can that have appeared in the show. But again, I kind of do have to get into the extended material. But again, I think Cecil kind of acting as a summoner type, kind of using his teleport tech to bring these guys in, use them as additional assists or maybe as projectiles, and then maybe when Cecil takes damage, or maybe Cecil could kind of have Donald like fly out in front of him. That's the utilization for Donald right there. So Cecil would be great and a really good excuse to utilize a lot more of the characters that don't get to make it in. I do know it's a 3D game. They would have to end up making the entire model, and that might, lean them towards maybe future DLC. Because again, if Immortal is for the 3 Immortal enthusiasts out there, if Immortal's coming out for like 2 or 3 of these assists, they're gonna have the animations there, they're gonna have the model rigged up and everything. Maybe that'll encourage them to have more DLC down the line, or maybe this is a good way to squeeze in a couple 3D models. But again, I'm thinking more from a practical standpoint. But aside from that, I do think Cecil would be really cool. He does have a lot of tech he can utilize as well. He's no slouch when it comes to combat. He has been deployed in the field before, so I think Cecil would be really cool. I think I would limit the actual amount of attacks he does, like hand-to-hand stuff. I would give him gadgets, and again, more of a summoner type of angle than anything. Then last up for the non-spoilers, I have Powerplex, and I'm gonna be honest, Powerplex kind of just won me over with the show, man, with that performance, with the more dedicated episode. Again, I did really like him in the run and what he does and everything, but again, that performance with the voice acting and everything, I feel Aaron Taylor Johnson, is that his name? No, it's not Aaron Taylor Johnson, whatever. Jesse, you know who I'm talking about. I can't remember his name right now because I'm in the recording booth, but yeah, his performance really won me over. I think Powerplex also just has a really unique power set, which again is one of the things I'm looking for. I think maybe a projectile-based short/mid-range type of guy obviously would deal more damage with the damage he's taken, so he would kind of maybe be like a character that you'd want to leave till the end. I think maybe the more damage he absorbs and as he recovers and everything, maybe his damage increases. Maybe he would get access to more moves. I don't know how complex that would be. I don't know what kind of engine this is going to be running on, but maybe something where he stores charges and he can get additional moves and kind of extend that stuff, extend the damage that he's taken, and use that like to extend combos, or maybe to get some additional moves or something like that, maybe get access to use strings. I think that'd be really cool. Powerplex does have a really cool power set, and I think he would really be a good fit. And again, I do just want to hear the voice acting for him. Again, he did do great. And again, what is this actor's name? It's going to kill me, man. Aaron Paul. It's Aaron Paul. I don't know why I thought Aaron Taylor. No, they're both named Aaron. Anyway.
I made a mistake. A mistake? Yes.
Next up, do just want to let you guys know we are getting into a little bit of spoiler territory with these next 3. One of them has shown up. The other 2 have not shown up in the story as of yet and will be playing major roles in it. So if you guys do want to head out now, if you guys do want to avoid spoilers, go ahead and skip to this part of the video. And yeah, I'll see you guys there. For those of you who did stick around, starting off with the first one, Oliver. So you guys might be wondering why Oliver would be in the spoiler version. I would specifically advocate for the more adult version of Oliver. I think that's obviously when he does, do more of his feats and everything. If they do want to stylize it, maybe include a younger Oliver, I think that is plausible. But again, since the game does have fatalities, does have finishers from what it looks like, I don't know if they'd be that eager to include the younger version of Oliver. I think if any version of Oliver makes it in, it is going to be the older one. And I would want him, honestly, to just be a faster rushdown character. I think I'd want him to have longer combo strings and everything. Maybe the damage isn't as crazy, but I would want him to move faster than Invincible. At least from what I recall in the comics, he was usually faster than Mark in a lot of their encounters. He was able to get the upper hand on him just because of speed and a couple things, if I remember right. But again, I do think that'd be really cool and kind of a good way to allude to the whole, younger brother of Invincible and everything. Maybe have him move similar to Invincible, but just have maybe some faster frames, maybe have him play a little more aggressive, because again, he does kind of have that general different attitude towards life than Invincible does. But again, I think Oliver would be really cool. And again, I know I said I'm not trying to include a ton of Viltrumites, but he is one of the major characters. And again, I think it'd be a great fit, man. And speaking of Viltrumites that I was trying to not include, I honestly would have this guy probably as the final boss of the game, Thrag. And again, if you guys are familiar with the run, if you guys are familiar with where things go, I think Thrag is absolutely a shoo-in for the game. If he's not the final boss, I don't know who else they could put in there, man. I think Thrag is a great character. And again, he does kind of suffer from the whole similar power set Superman archetype thing as Omni-Man, all the other Viltrumites in the game. But again, if you're going to have all the other characters in this, if you get Lucan in here, man, if you're getting Lucan and Thula, there is no way we're not getting Thrag. You could obviously argue for, wait, why wouldn't Anissa make it or something along those lines? But I do think in terms of the story and everything, I think Thrag plays a more vital role. And in all honesty, I think they may include more Viltrumites than not. I think they're probably going to end up including maybe 7 or 8 Viltrumites in all honesty, because a lot of them do play significant roles in the story. A lot of them do make it through. But I think Thrag is honestly just way, way, way above any other Viltrumite. As for the moveset, I'm kind of lost on him. I think he'd probably play like Conquest, but even more aggressive. I would want him as the final boss character just so we could have some BS like super armor and stuff like that. I would want him to just tank through a majority of hits in this game. Again, just because Thrag is so damn resilient in the run. And again, I think that kind of should be one of the main things that they play on for his character. And then lastly, I wanted to include some additional villains, but again, I don't even know if he could really be described as a villain. Dinosaurus. And again, this is kind of getting into the whole, I feel like Invincible kind of has a couple of these characters, kind of the same thing as the Mauler twins. He is absolutely insane when it comes to physical feats, even more so than the Mauler twins. I think he's one of the strongest villains in this series, of course, next to Thrag and everything, and Battle Beast, of course. But Dinosaurus definitely does give some of the stronger characters a run for their money, and I think he'd be honestly really cool to see. I think you could make him really combo heavy when he's close range, give him like, swipes and everything, maybe some sort of bleed effect, but again, I think that might be doing too much. But along with that, give him like long range options. He, again, is a genius. He does find the best solutions for stuff, and he is this incredibly intelligent character. So I think, again, kind of the same thing with the Mauler twins. You can just make him this up close bruiser, give him like command grabs where he chomps down on people and swings them around, stuff like that. But again, he is a very intelligent character, so I feel like including some of gadgets, or maybe even like, again, I hate to go back to trap setting stuff, but maybe even something to like limit their range or limit how far they can back off, maybe keep them in close proximity to him would be really cool. Or maybe just include that stuff for the assists. Maybe he could have some sort of device that traps either character from backing up further so that they have to engage with another teammate at close range. But again, Dinosaurus is one of the best characters in the run. I really love him, really love his whole arc and everything. I feel like it'd be a disservice to not include him as the final character in the game, of course, aside from Thrag as the final boss. So there you go. With that being said, the final roster would be Invincible, Bulletproof, Adam Eve, Rexplode, Thula, Omni-Man, Lucan, Alan, Monster Girl, Robot, the Mauler twins, Tech Jacket, Battle Beast, Conquest, Cecil, Powerplex, Oliver, Thrag, and Dinosaurus. So, I mean, yeah, aside from that, obviously, I think there would be DLC for the game. I mean, just some picks that I already got off the top of my head. I got Space Racer, I got Spawn, I got Rick Grimes, Savage Dragon, Shadowhawk, the Max. There's a lot of characters that can be included that are either associated with Robert Kirkman or associated with the Imageverse itself. So, the DLC is honestly one of the things I'm most excited for when it comes to the roster. I think the base roster is kind of going to make some people mad no matter what it ends up being. There are so many characters in Invincible, and I feel like there is not enough of a budget to include all of the major characters that would make everybody happy. Again, I know the final lineup I had here did end up kind of being a bit of a sausage fest. But again, aside from Anissa and maybe 2 or 3 other female characters, Robert Kirkman didn't give me a lot to work with, man. And again, that's nothing against him. I know he's working back and going through the story and doubling back and everything. So I think he could definitely include some additional characters and maybe make a better case for some of them, like duplicate things along those lines. But again, I think when it comes to more significant characters, I think that's kind of what they're going for. But again, they throw Lucan and Thule in there, man, which I'm kind of, it's a monkey wrench in the whole thing. But either way, my name is Gojibu. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, if you guys got anything else you want to see, let me know in the comments. But otherwise, peace.